Hey guys, welcome to Isaiah's Reviews. Today we'll be reviewing the Z3 Pro Dash Cam. It's a dual dash cam, so you get forward facing into the cab and an outside shot as well. And I really like that. That's a certain safety factor in that, especially if you're Uber, Lyft driver, cab driver, any kind of commercial driver. If you've got commercial trucks or something like that in your company and you want to put these in there to kind of monitor the road and accidents, your workers that's driving your vehicles. So a fleet, like a pest control fleet or something like that, you know, you can put these in all the vehicles. That way if there's ever an accident or something like that, you can do some research, get down to the bottom of the cause, and plus a little eye in the sky might help keep the worker going, or it might seem micromanagey. I don't know that balance, but I do know that you do get 150-degree field of view with this thing, which is nice. You get a 2-inch screen on the back. You get loop recording, which is common in all DVR cameras. That's what you want anyway. And whenever you lock a file folder in, so say you're filming in 3-minute increments, which I think this one is 3-minute increments. I'll leave a link down below to all the specifications and all that stuff I may miss. The link will be down there and should explain everything that I missed anyway. So you get the loop recording. It'll just keep going and filling the card and replacing the oldest file folder. So motion detection, so there's a battery inside that if there's some motion or something while you're parked for a little while afterwards, it'll detect that and record. If GPS is built in, which is really cool, and all the things that you need. It's kind of included in here to protect yourself and have some assurance that you're in the right as a commercial operator or something. That's the way I kind of view this camera fitting into the world there. Or if you've got a teenage driver and you want to be that big brother eye in the sky on your kid or something like that, but it's just really a safety precaution. You get them to do the correct things when you're not around. All those are options. I don't know if they're the best options in the world. But anyway, what you get in the box though, this is the camera itself mounted on the suction. It's just a little hand screw here that you'll do, and you get a really nice lens, a really nice sensor, and you get the same one kind of here, a different lens, but I think it's the same exact sensor. Should be on the back and front. I know they're both 1080p, 30 frames per second. Like I said, the specification for those will be listed, and you can adjust this up and down like so. That's a good thing. No left to right needed in my mind, because the field of view is so ginormous that it actually, you gain visibility of all your seats. In the back seat, you get a shot of all the back seats. If you put it up right below your rearview mirror there, you get a shot of everything in the back, passenger seat and the driver's seat, which is great. And you can just shift this over a little bit if you got pulled over and you wanted this to be an extra eye on the situation. If a cop comes up to your window, you can just reach up and move it over to the left a little bit and gain some access to view that as well. The menu system's straightforward. There's not much to it, so you kind of got the option of 1080p, 30 frames per second. So to lock this suction in place, it's unlocked whenever you're to the left here, and this is pretty genius. I do like this because the GPS antenna is here, and so when you stick this up to the window and lock it in, your antenna's up, GPS says it there. You actually have a separate cable that will go through the GPS antenna and into the DVR, the actual camera system itself, and then you have a micro USB at the top, which you get in the box, and you get the equipment that you'll need to push back that liner to run that cable through. But you get a super long cable. Like I said, I'll leave a link in the YouTube description, which will go over the length of that cable. And you get another micro USB cable here. You get the little tool, a little liner tool to pull that liner back. You get an micro SD card, 32 gig card. You get this guy, a little car adapter with 2 USB ports, so you don't lose a port for charging. You get these little guide things, so if you need, they're sticky on one side, but you can route the cable through those if you need to. There's 2, 4, 6 of these to help route that till you get to the liner, and then you just poke it through. So I've had DVR cameras in my vehicles for a really long time, for like a decade or something like that. And I highly recommend. I really wish, I don't understand why they're not included. Like, they're the cheapest things in the world that the manufacturers could put into these vehicles, and it could save a lot of time on investigating and accidents and things of that nature. And they could put your speeds and your GPS locations and all that stuff that you could activate through the touch screen on a vehicle. I don't get it, because they could put a little micro or SD card slot in the console. You just click it in there. You have a camera on the front end, which all vehicles now are coming with the cameras on the front, so are up there in the middle, top of your window, preferably there. You have a camera there, 120, 150 degree field of view, 60 frames per second would be ideal. Like this, to me, this is great. This is 1080p, 30 frames per second, both facing out and facing in, and it's broken into two separate files of the exact same time frame. So what you see on the inside, full screen, it's not shrunken down and included into the bigger view on the outside. You actually get a full shot of the interior, like two separate cameras were filming, but at the exact same time. So that's great to look at. And you also get your information down on the lower left screen on how fast you're going and the date and time and all that good stuff there too. So you just tap that power button there, that top right button during a situation. You can save that data, and it'll lock that folder up from being erased by a loop again. So that's a good important thing to do if something happens. Alright, so now that we're in a little grouping of cars here, let's get up here and take a little looky-loo and see if we can see some detail. We're probably 100 yards away right now from that middle car, and maybe 20 yards. Well, they're about equal now. So now we're about 75 yards away from that car. So just going up 50 yards. Car come over at about 30 yards away now. And let's just pass these guys, and we'll see what happens when they get closer. Of course, you gain more detail, but how much detail? Is this good? Is this bad? We will see during the editing process. And one good thing to note is the sensors themselves. They're good sensors in here. They're good cameras. Facing me for a change and facing away, so that's important. I like the camera that faces me. Most of the time those are really tiny and just there to kind of push the product a little bit and sell the idea of it. But to actually implement a good camera, two good cameras, that was a good move on their part, and I'm glad they did that, because it really pays off. And I think Lyft, Uber drivers, cab drivers, whatever, if you wanted to make this thing visible so people can see that you have it, you can do that for a little protection, knowing that they may not can get away with something. And also, if you want to hide it, just in case something does happen and you don't want them to grab your dash cam on their way out. And one thing I wonder, which I just now thought about, do they make like security boxes for cams like that? Do they make like some kind of glass that adheres, sort of silicone against the glass, that would just be hard to break that box? Sort of like one of those, I don't know, one of those boxes that goes over a thermostat that kind of locks or something like that. They should make that for cars, I think, so that people don't commit a crime and try to make off with your dash cam. Ta-da! Hope you can see my face really well. Man, looking at that thing from the outside, it really does showcase just how good that outside camera is. Looks doggone good. I'm more impressed with this thing than I thought I was going to be. This is a really nice dash cam. Now I'm going into the sun, so Can't wait to see what that looks like. The sun's kind of up and to the left, but it's still into the camera lens. And also, setup was a pretty good breeze. You just have to find your GMT number, your like what is that, your time zone number, which you could Google that. Like me, I was in Alabama, and I think mine's GMT-5. I just didn't know that off the top of my head. Normally I look for Central Time Zone, so you can just find your number. Probably the Eastern would be GMT-6, I think is how that works. So that's that. That's the setup process. The date and time's an easy breezy thing. It's got the GPS, so it pretty much filled its own self in. And that's another thing that's really cool, how they implement the GPS at the top. It's a twist lock suction with the GPS mounted up there and the dual cables, so it's less to worry with running, and more reliable, I think, with that big old fat exposed GPS on the top. It looks good. Buttons down the right side are extremely easy to get to while driving. The screen's a little on the small side, but if it was any bigger, the unit would be too big. So I think sacrificing a little of that screen there, and you're getting a bigger camera facing you, a better lens, a better camera facing you, is going to add a little of the width to that. So I think the trade-off is worth that. The little bit smaller screen than what I would want, but a better cabin camera is a good trade-off. It's fine. Here we are on the darkest stretch of road that we're probably going to be able to find, just because there's so much traffic even at 8:36 p.m. So here you are with what it kind of looks like. Hopefully we'll get a little stretch of road up here with no vehicles on it, but this may be as good as it gets to be able to check out absolutely no street lights. Just see how headlights will illuminate the road and stuff like that, and to be able to get an idea of where you are in case of an accident. At least you should be able to see some possible signs or lights, or at least well enough to be able to identify a stretch of road if possible. And now we're into street light. So to sum up, the Z-Edge Z3 Pro Dual Camera DVR system for your car, is it a good buy? I think it's pretty good. Like, ideally, like if you had to say what's the ideal perfect specs for a system, it would be dual cameras, especially for Uber, Lyft, commercial vehicles and things of that nature. Dual cameras a must. The same resolution on both cameras, because some things happen on the interior that you would want to zoom in on and see, and just like the exterior, stuff happens. The only thing that I wish that this one had that it doesn't is 60 frames per second. That's it, you know. That's the only downside to the camera that I can see, and it's up to you if you want to overlook that, because if you double the frames per second, it's 1080, 30 frames per second, that's about your only choice for this. Dual though, and the two sensors that you get in this is good sensors, so they're going to pick up all the information, but if you had twice the frames of information from 30 frames to 60 frames per second, that's twice the odds of catching some information that you might need. So that is my review. It's nice, it's a decent dash cam, and I think it's a must-have for any of those guys out there carrying people around. You gotta have some protection, and whether you want to display this thing out in the open where they see it, or kind of hide it a little bit where it pokes down from the rearview mirror or something, those are all options for you. If you show it, you might get that added security that they're on camera, or they could take the thing and run with it, or you hide it and hope for the best. I don't really know those options, but anyway, make sure to explode on that subscribe button and ding that bell so you get notified of the next product review that I have coming. And I've got some pretty good ones. See ya.